The stars twisted and bent as the Kaalint research vessel tore through the fabric of space. Inside the command chamber, Commander Zixthal watched the viewing screen with 3 of his compound eyes, while the 4th monitored the navigation systems. His chitinous exoskeleton clicked softly as he adjusted his position on the elevated platform. After traveling for what felt like mere hours in faster-than-light speed, they had crossed a distance that would have taken light itself 30,000 years. Earth appeared on the screen as a blue marble suspended in the black void. Zixthal felt a wave of satisfaction wash through his neural clusters. The planet looked exactly as it had in the ancient survey records. White clouds swirled over vast oceans. Green and brown landmasses dotted the surface. Everything seemed in order. "Begin scanning for base installation 794, Zixthal commanded. His translator device converted his clicking mandibles into words the ship's computer could understand. Science Officer Krina worked at her station, her antennae twitching with concentration. Initiating deep scan of designated coordinates. The base should be located in the northern region of the 3rd largest desert. The Kaalint had left the base behind 30,000 years ago, back when humans were barely more than clever animals. Those primitives had lived in caves, hunted with stone-tipped spears, and knew nothing of metals or agriculture. The Kaalint had found them fascinating subjects for long-term study. So they had built a research station, hidden it with advanced cloaking technology, and filled it with automated systems designed to observe and record human development over millions of years. The base had been built to last. Its foundations were quantum-locked, meaning they existed partially outside normal spacetime. Its power core drew energy directly from Earth's magnetic field. Its hull was made of self-repairing smart materials that could survive meteor strikes, volcanic eruptions, and ice ages. Nothing short of a supernova should have been able to destroy it. "Commander." Krina's voice carried a note of confusion. "I'm not detecting the base." Zixthal's mandibles clicked in annoyance. "Check your instruments. The base cannot simply be invisible to our scanners. It was built with Kaalint technology." "I have checked 3 times, Commander. The instruments are functioning perfectly." Krina looked up from her station, her eyes reflecting genuine concern. "There is nothing at those coordinates. No energy signature, no quantum distortion, no molecular traces, nothing." "That is impossible," Zixthal said. He moved to the science station and examined the data himself. The scanners showed only sand, rock, and dirt at the base location. It was as if their research station had never existed at all. "Perhaps the coordinates are wrong," suggested Pilot Vixkor from his station. 30,000 years is a long time. Planetary drift, tectonic movement. "The coordinates are correct," Krina interrupted. "I have accounted for all planetary movement. I am scanning the entire desert region now, expanding to a 1,000-kilometer radius. The ship's sensors swept across the surface below, penetrating deep into the Earth, analyzing every particle and energy signature." The results appeared on the main screen. Zixthal stared at them in disbelief. "Still nothing," Krina confirmed. "Commander, the base is gone." Zixthal felt a chill run through his nervous system. In all his years of service to the Galactic Council, he had never encountered anything like this. Kaalint installations did not disappear. They especially did not disappear without leaving any trace whatsoever. "Scan the entire planet," he ordered. Perhaps the base was moved. As the sensors expanded their search, other discoveries began to emerge. Zixthal watched the data flow across his screens with growing alarm. Earth was not the primitive world they had left behind. The planet was covered with artificial structures. Cities of metal and stone sprawled across every continent, roads carved through forests and deserts like veins. Thousands of artificial satellites orbited the planet. "Commander, I'm detecting electromagnetic radiation across multiple frequencies," Krina reported. "Radio waves, microwave transmissions, high-energy particle emissions. This is not natural." "The humans," Vixkor breathed. "They have developed technology." Zixthal examined the data more carefully. The technology was primitive by galactic standards, but it was still impressive for a species that had been using stone tools just 30,000 years ago. They had discovered electricity, built machines, and even achieved spaceflight, though they had not yet left their own solar system. "Classify their civilization level," Zixthal ordered. Krina worked quickly. "Early Type 1 civilization. They are harnessing their planet's energy, but have not yet achieved faster-than-light travel. Their weapons are chemical and nuclear-based with some basic energy systems. They pose no threat to this vessel." Zixthal considered the situation. The humans had advanced remarkably fast, but they were still primitive compared to the Collint. More importantly, they should not have been able to affect the base. Human technology, even at this level, could not have touched quantum-locked foundations. A nuclear weapon could have exploded directly on the base and done nothing but reveal its presence. Something else happened here, Zixthal said quietly. Something we do not understand. Should we attempt contact with the humans? Vixkor asked. Perhaps they know what happened to our base. No, Zixthal decided. Not yet. First, we investigate, deploy stealth probes to the base location. I want a complete analysis of that site. Geological surveys, temporal scans, quantum field analysis, everything. There must be evidence of what happened. As the crew worked to launch the probes, Zixthal stared at the blue planet below. 30,000 years ago, they had come to observe simple primitives. Now those primitives had built a technological civilization, and somehow, impossibly, the Collint's indestructible base had vanished without a trace. Something had gone very wrong on Earth, and Zixthal had the growing suspicion that the humans knew more than anyone expected. The stealth probes descended through Earth's atmosphere like invisible ghosts. Commander Zixthal watched their feeds on the main screen as they approached the coordinates where base installation 794 should have been. The probes were equipped with the most advanced sensors in the Collint arsenal, capable of detecting everything from quantum fluctuations to historical temporal echoes. What they found made no sense. The terrain has been completely altered, Science Officer Krina reported. Her antennae drooped in confusion. Where the base should be, there are now agricultural fields, irrigation systems, roads, and a human settlement approximately 2 kilometers to the east. The screen showed rolling fields of green crops. Large machines moved through them, harvesting plants with mechanical efficiency. Humans worked alongside the machines, their tiny forms moving with purpose across the landscape. Where there should have been a hidden research station, there was only farmland. Go deeper, Zixthal ordered. Scan beneath the surface. The base foundations extended 300 meters underground. The probes sent penetrating waves through the earth. The results appeared on the screen layer by layer. Soil, rock, ancient sediment, water tables, but no trace of Collint construction materials, no quantum-locked foundations, no power conduits, nothing. It is as if the base never existed, Krina said quietly. Zixthal's mandibles clicked in frustration. He had commanded research, vessels for 200 years and had never encountered such an impossibility. Expand the temporal scan. I want to see the history of this location. Go back 50,000 years. The probes activated their temporal echo sensors. These devices could read the faint impressions that past events left on space-time itself, like fossils preserved in stone. The image on the screen began to shift, showing the same location at different points in history. 20 years ago, farmland. 100 years ago, farmland. 500 years ago, desert with a small human settlement. 1,000 years ago, desert with nomadic humans passing through. 5,000 years ago, pristine desert with no human presence. There, Zixthal pointed. Stop there. The image froze at a point approximately 15,000 years in the past. The desert landscape was empty and untouched. But there, visible, only as the faintest quantum distortion, was an outline. The outline of base installation 794. The base was there 15,000 years ago, Krina confirmed. But look at this. She advanced the timeline forward slowly. At approximately 14,800 years in the past, something changed. The quantum signature began to fluctuate. Then it weakened. Then it disappeared completely. What could cause that? Pilot Vixkor asked. Nothing, Zixthal said. Nothing in nature could disrupt a quantum lock. It requires deliberate technological intervention, very advanced technological intervention. But Commander, Vixkor protested, 14,000 years ago, these humans were still primitive. According to our original survey, they had not even developed agriculture yet. Zixthal studied the data in silence. His mind worked through the possibilities, discarding each one as impossible. A natural disaster? No, Quantum locks were designed to survive anything nature could produce. A malfunction? No, Quilent technology had redundancy systems within redundancy systems. An attack by another spacefaring species? Possible, but there was no evidence of any other civilization visiting Earth. Hack into their information networks, Zixthal ordered suddenly. I want access to their historical records, everything they know about this region. It took the ship's computer less than 3 minutes to infiltrate Earth's primitive internet systems. Vast amounts of human data flooded into the Quilent database. Books, scientific papers, archaeological surveys, historical documents, legends, and myths. Krina sorted through the information quickly. I have found extensive human archaeological data about this region. They call it the Sahara Desert. According to their records, this area has been inhabited by humans on and off for over 30,000 years. Any mention of our base? No, Commander. There are no records of any structure at that location. But... Krina paused, her eyes scanning through more data. There are legends. Ancient stories passed down by the local human tribes. They speak of a place they called the house that should not be. A structure that appeared and disappeared in the desert. A place where the sky demons lived. Zixthal leaned forward. Sky demons? A primitive term for extraterrestrial visitors, Krina explained. The legends are vague and fragmented, but they all mention a structure that could not be entered by normal means, a building that hummed with power, a place the tribal elders warned their children to avoid. So they knew about the base, Vixcor said. But how did they overcome the cloaking systems? I do not know, Krina admitted. But there is more. I found a reference in a human archaeological journal from 20 years ago. A team discovered some unusual material fragments in this region, crystalline structures that could not be identified. The fragments were sent to a laboratory for analysis, but the laboratory later claimed they were simply unusual natural formations. Zixthal felt a cold certainty growing in his core. Find that laboratory. I want to know what happened to those fragments. As Krina worked, Zixthal made a decision. Prepare an abduction shuttle. We need to question these humans directly. Find their top scientists and military leaders. Bring them to the ship for interrogation. Commander, Vixcor said carefully, the Galactic Council has strict protocols about first contact. We should not... The Council is 30,000 light-years away, Zixthal interrupted, and we have a mystery that threatens everything we understand about our technology. We need answers. The abduction shuttle was prepared within the hour. It descended toward Earth's surface, its stealth systems active. The target was a human research facility where several scientists who had studied the Sahara region worked. The plan was simple: render the humans unconscious with stasis fields, transport them to the ship, conduct interviews, then return them with their memories edited. It should have been routine. But as the shuttle broke through the cloud layer, alarms began screaming throughout the ship. Krina's voice filled the command chamber with urgency. Commander, we have been detected. Multiple energy signatures are converging on our position. Human vessels are launching from their planet's surface. They have weapons. On the screen, Zixthal saw something that made his blood run cold. Dozens of human spacecraft were rising from Earth, moving with speed and precision that should not have been possible for a Type 1 civilization. Their hulls glowed with energy fields. Their weapons ports were opening. Pull back the shuttle, Zixthal ordered. Full defensive shields, evasive maneuvers. As the Quilent vessel prepared for confrontation, Zixthal realized with dawning horror that they had made a terrible mistake. The humans were not as primitive as their scans had suggested. They had been hiding their true capabilities. And now the Quilent had revealed themselves. Commander Zixthal gripped the command platform as his ship shuddered from the force of human weapons fire. The defensive shields held, but the energy readings were alarming. These were not the primitive nuclear or chemical weapons his sensors had initially detected. These were plasma cannons, gravity disruptors, directed energy beams that bent space itself to reach their targets. Impossible, Vixcor whispered at his station. Our initial scans showed no technology of this level. How did we miss this? They hid it from us, Krina said, her voice tight with fear. They knew we were scanning them, and they deliberately showed us only what they wanted us to see. 30 human vessels surrounded the Khalint ship in a perfect spherical formation. Each vessel was roughly half the size of the research ship, but together they represented a significant threat. Their hulls bore markings in human languages, and their designs were elegant, almost organic in appearance. "Hail them," Zixthal ordered. "Open a communication channel." The main screen flickered and changed. A human face appeared, framed against the bridge of one of their vessels. The human was female with dark skin and short-cropped hair. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent, showing no fear whatsoever. She wore a uniform of deep blue with insignia that Zixthal did not recognize. "This is Admiral Kenji Okafor of the Earth Defense Fleet," the human said. Her voice was calm but carried an edge of steel. "You have entered protected space without authorization and attempted to abduct our citizens. Power down your weapon systems and prepare to be boarded, or we will open fire with full force." Zixthal composed himself. He had conducted first contact protocols dozens of times before, though never under such hostile circumstances. "I am Commander Zixthal of the Khalint Research Collective. We mean no harm to your species. We are here on a scientific mission." "A scientific mission," Admiral Okafor repeated, and there was something in her tone that sent a chill through Zixthal's neural clusters. "You mean like the scientific mission you conducted 30,000 years ago?" The command chamber fell silent. Every Khalint on the bridge turned to stare at the screen. "You know about that," Zixthal said slowly. "Oh, we know about a great many things, Commander." The Admiral leaned forward in her chair. "We know about Base Installation 794. We know about your quantum-locked foundations and your self-repairing smart materials. We know about your observation protocols and your study of our ancestors. We know everything." "How?" The word escaped Zixthal's mandibles before he could stop it. Admiral Okafor smiled. It was not a friendly expression. "You should have checked your base security logs more carefully before you left. Let me tell you a story, Commander. About 29,847 years ago, a young human hunter named Akara was tracking a gazelle through the desert. He was using all his senses as his father had taught him, and he noticed something strange, a place where the sand fell differently, where the wind seemed to stop, where nothing grew. On the screen behind the Admiral, images began to appear, ancient cave paintings, drawings of a strange rectangular shape in the desert, stick figures of humans standing before it in awe and fear. Akara told his tribe about the invisible house, the Admiral continued. They called it a sign from the spirits. The tribal elders declared it sacred ground, forbidden. But humans, Commander, we are curious creatures. Over generations, we studied that invisible house. We touched it. We threw things at it. We tried to dig around it. And slowly, very slowly, we began to understand that it was not magic. It was something else. Something made by beings from the sky. Zixthal felt his confidence crumbling. Your species was primitive. Stone tools. No written language. You could not possibly have. Primitive does not mean stupid, Admiral Okafor interrupted sharply. It took us thousands of years, but we learned. Around 20,000 years ago, one of our shamans discovered that certain crystals would glow when brought near your base. Around 15,000 years ago, we figured out how to use those crystals to see the outline of your structure. 10,000 years ago, we broke through your outer shell. The images on the screen changed. Archaeological photographs. A massive excavation site. And there, half buried in sand and rock, were pieces of Khalint technology, fragments of hull plating, sections of power conduits, a partially intact door mechanism. We took your base apart piece by piece, the Admiral said. We studied every component. We learned from it. We built upon it. Commander, every piece of technology you see around you, every ship in my fleet, every advancement humanity has made in the last 15,000 years, it all started with your indestructible research station. You uplifted yourselves, Krina whispered. Using our technology. We prefer to think of it as learning from a very expensive textbook you left lying around, Admiral Okafor said. Of course, it did not happen overnight. It took us 5,000 years just to understand your power systems, another 3,000 to grasp the basic principles of your quantum locks. But we are patient, we are persistent, and we remember. Zixthal felt a wave of horror wash over him. The implications were staggering. The Galactic Council had strict laws about technology transfer to developing species. The Khalint had not intentionally uplifted humanity, but the result was the same. If the council learned what had happened, the consequences would be severe. His entire species could face sanctions, possibly even quarantine. "Why did you hide your technology from our scans?" Zixthal asked. "Because we have been waiting for you," Admiral Okafor said simply. "We knew you would come back eventually. Your base logs indicated a planned return visit in approximately 30,000 years. We have had a long time to prepare for this meeting. We wanted to see what you would do, how you would react when you found your base missing. And now?" Zixthal asked carefully.
"What happens now?"
The Admiral's expression softened slightly. "Now, Commander, we talk. You attempted to abduct our citizens. By rights, we could destroy your ship and claim self-defense. But we are not interested in war. We are interested in answers. And perhaps if we can come to an understanding, we might discuss the future." "You want to join the Galactic Council," Zixthal realized. "We want many things," Admiral Okafor said. "First and foremost, we want respect. We want to be treated as equals, not as animals to be studied. We want the knowledge you possess about the galaxy. And yes, eventually we want our place among the stars." Zixthal looked around his bridge. His crew stared back at him, waiting for his decision. He could try to fight their way out, but the human fleet had them surrounded and outgunned. He could try to escape to faster-than-light speed, but his ship was not designed for combat and the humans had demonstrated sophisticated weapons. Or he could do something he had never done before in all his years of service. He could admit that the Khalint had made a mistake. "Very well, Admiral," Zixthal said. "We accept your invitation to talk, but I request that we meet in person on neutral ground. There's much we need to discuss." Admiral Okafor nodded. "Agreed. Welcome to Earth, Commander. We have been expecting you for a very long time." The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere in silence. Commander Zixthal watched through the viewports as they passed through clouds and approached a massive city. Towers of glass and steel reached toward the sky. Flying vehicles moved through designated air corridors. Below, millions of humans went about their daily lives, unaware that aliens walked among them for the first time in 30,000 years. "This is New Geneva," Admiral Okafor explained from her seat across from Zixthal, "built on what used to be the ruins of several ancient cities. We chose to meet here because of what it represents: unity, progress, and memory." The shuttle landed on a platform atop an enormous building. As Zixthal and his two crew members, Krina and Vixkor, stepped out, they were greeted by a group of humans in formal attire. The humans showed no fear at the sight of the insectoid aliens. Instead, they bowed respectfully. "Welcome to Earth," said an elderly human male with white hair and dark eyes. "I am Secretary General Chen of the United Earth Government. It is an honor to meet you, though the circumstances are not what we had hoped." Zixthal returned the bow as best he could with his different physiology. "The honor is ours, though I confess I am still processing the revelation of your true technological level." "All will be explained," Secretary General Chen promised. "Please follow us." They were led through corridors lined with artwork and historical displays. Zixthal noticed that many of the displays showed images of the stars, of spacecraft, of humans reaching outward. But there were also older images, cave paintings, ancient tools, drawings of his own species standing beside humans. "You preserved the memory of us," Krina observed quietly. "We preserved everything," Admiral Okafor said. "Our entire civilization was shaped by that first contact, even if you never intended it to be contact at all. You were our first proof that we were not alone in the universe. That knowledge changed us." They entered a vast chamber that took Zixthal's breath away. The Global Archives Museum stretched before them, a space easily 500 meters long and 100 meters high. Display cases held artifacts from every era of human history. But at the center of the room, given a place of highest honor, was something that made Zixthal stop in his tracks. A panel of Khalint hull material, 3 meters wide and 2 meters tall, stood on a raised platform. It was intact, its surface still showing the slight shimmer of quantum-locked molecules, but it had been engraved. Human hands had carved words into its surface in dozens of languages, but the largest inscription was in Earth Common, "To our ancient teachers." "We kept this piece," Secretary General Chen said softly. "The last piece we removed from your base. Everything else was studied, reverse-engineered, and eventually recycled or displayed in educational facilities. But this one piece we kept here. As a reminder," Zixthal moved closer to the panel. His mandibles clicked as he read the inscription. Around it were display cases showing the progression of human technology: stone tools, bronze implements, iron weapons. And then suddenly a leap: crystalline energy matrices, quantum processors, gravity manipulation devices, all clearly derivative of Khalint technology, but adapted, improved, made uniquely human. "Tell me the whole story," Zixthal said. "I need to understand how this happened." Secretary General Chen gestured to seats arranged in a circle around the panel. As they sat, a holographic display activated showing images from Earth's past. "After Akara discovered your base, it became the focus of our most intelligent minds," Chen began. "For generations, tribal elders would send their brightest children to study the invisible house. They would spend their entire lives trying to understand it. They passed their knowledge to their children." "Who passed it to their children?" The holographic display showed images of primitive humans camping near the base, drawing diagrams in the sand, leaving offerings. "Around 20,000 years ago, we had our first breakthrough. A young woman named Sina discovered that certain rocks, what we now know were crystals with specific atomic structures, would glow near your base. She mapped the entire outline using those crystals. For the first time, we could see the full size of what we were dealing with. The display showed more images, humans drawing careful maps, building permanent structures near the base to house the scholars who studied it. 15,000 years ago, we found the first door mechanism. It took us 200 years to understand how it worked, another 50 years to finally open it without triggering your security systems." Chen smiled slightly. "Your base AI was very insistent that we should not be there. It tried to warn you. It tried to activate defense protocols, but it was designed to observe and record, not to harm developing species, so it could only watch as we slowly took apart everything you had built." "The AI," Zixthal said suddenly. "What happened to it?" "Still functional," Chen said. "We will show you later. Please let me finish the history." The display showed humans carrying pieces of Khalint technology from the desert, building workshops, studying the components with primitive tools that gradually became more sophisticated. 10,000 years ago, we understood your power systems. We built our first power generator based on your designs. It revolutionized our society. No more dependence on fire alone. We could heat entire buildings, illuminate cities. Power machines we had not even imagined yet. 5,000 years ago, we cracked your data storage systems. Suddenly, we had access to your databases, your scientific knowledge, your star charts, your mathematics and physics. It was like going from candlelight to sunlight in an instant. We learned about the Galactic Council, about other species, about the true size of the universe. The display showed human scientists studying holographic data, their faces filled with wonder and determination. "But we also learned something troubling," Chen continued. "We learned about the Council's laws regarding developing species. We learned that what happened to us, whether accident or not, was forbidden. We realized that if you returned and reported what had happened, you would face severe punishment. Your entire species might suffer for a mistake you made 30,000 years ago." Zixthal felt a wave of emotion. "You hid your advancement to protect us?" "Partially," Admiral Okafor said. "We also hid it to protect ourselves. We did not know how you would react. Would you try to suppress us? Remove our technology? We decided it was safer to appear primitive until we understood your intentions." "But that was only a few thousand years ago," Vixcor protested. "How did you advance so quickly from there to this?" He gestured at the sophisticated city around them. "Because once we understood the principles, we could innovate," Chen explained. "Your technology taught us the rules of the universe. But we added our own creativity, our own solutions. Human ingenuity combined with Khalint knowledge created something new, something neither of our species had built alone." The display showed modern human spacecraft, beautiful and deadly in equal measure. "We are not copies of you," Admiral Okafor said. "We are something else. Something that could only exist because a Khalint research vessel decided to study our primitive ancestors and accidentally left a treasure trove of knowledge behind." Zixthal looked at the panel with its inscription. "To our ancient teachers," he read again. "But we did not teach you. We only left our tools lying around. And that," Secretary General Chen said with a smile, "is the most human way to learn anything. We are scavengers, Commander. We take what we find and make it our own. We always have been." Commander Zixthal sat alone in the observation room aboard his ship, staring at Earth through the viewport. The planet rotated slowly below, its lights twinkling like stars scattered across the surface. Somewhere down there, billions of humans lived their lives, built their cities, and reached for the stars, all because his species had made one simple mistake 30,000 years ago. The door opened and Krina entered. "Commander, we have received a response from the Galactic Council. They are requesting a full report on our findings." Zixthal felt his neural clusters tighten with anxiety. "What have you told them so far?" "Only that we have arrived at Earth and located evidence of technological development among the native species. Nothing more." Krina moved closer. "Commander, we must tell them the truth. The Council has laws for a reason. If we conceal what happened here, if we tell them the truth, the Kalant will face consequences that could destroy our civilization," Zixthal interrupted. "We will be labeled as uplifters, contaminators. We will be quarantined, possibly for thousands of years. Our research privileges will be revoked, our trade agreements canceled. Everything our species has built over millions of years could be lost. But the law was made to protect developing species from exploitation," Zixthal said bitterly. "We did not exploit humanity. We made a mistake. We underestimated them. Is that truly worthy of species-level punishment?" Before Krina could answer, a communication alert sounded. Admiral Okafor's face appeared on the screen. "Commander Zixthal, Secretary General Chen requests your presence planetside. He says there is something important we need to discuss. All of you." 2 hours later, Zixthal and his crew stood once again in the Global Archives Museum. But this time they were not alone. The chamber was filled with humans. Scientists, historians, military officers, and government officials. They all watched the Kalant with expressions of curiosity and respect. Secretary General Chen stood before the assembled crowd. "Commander Zixthal, we have been monitoring your communications with the Galactic Council. We know you face a difficult decision. You can tell them the truth about what happened here and face punishment for a mistake made 30,000 years ago. Or you can lie and risk even worse consequences if the truth is discovered later." Zixthal said nothing. There was nothing to say. The humans understood his dilemma perfectly. "We have a proposal," Chen continued. "A third option, if you will. But first we need to show you something." Admiral Okafor activated a holographic display. It showed star charts, trade routes, technological specifications, and military capabilities. All of it human. All of it remarkably advanced. "In some areas we have matched your technology," Okafor explained. "In others we have actually exceeded it. Our approach to gravity manipulation is more efficient than yours. Our medical nanotechnology is more sophisticated. Our artificial intelligence systems are more adaptive. We did not just copy what you left behind, Commander. We innovated. We are ready to join the galactic community," Chen said. "But there is a problem. We are unknown, unproven. If we simply appear one day and claim to be a spacefaring civilization, the Council will investigate our origins. They will discover the truth about your base, and you will suffer for it." "So you want us to lie for you?" Zixthal said flatly. "No." Chen smiled. "We want you to tell a different truth, one that benefits both our species." He gestured and the holographic display changed. It showed a timeline, but this timeline was different from the real history. In this version, the Kalant had returned to Earth, discovered humanity had achieved spaceflight independently, and made first contact. The base was never mentioned. "We propose a partnership," Chen explained. "The Kalant return to the Council and report that humanity has developed into a spacefaring civilization through natural progression. You recommend us for Council membership as a newly discovered species. The Council will verify our technology, see that we meet the requirements, and grant us membership." "You want us to cover up the truth," Krina said. Her voice troubled. "We want to offer you redemption," Admiral Okafor corrected, "and ourselves a future. Think about it, Commander. What serves the spirit of the Council's laws better? Punishing you for an accident that actually led to a beneficial outcome, or allowing a new species to join the galactic community peacefully? The Council will investigate," Vixcor pointed out. "They will scan Earth, they will find evidence of your rapid advancement." "Let them look," Chen said confidently. "We have spent the last 2,000 years preparing for this moment. We have buried, destroyed, or disguised any evidence that could not be explained by natural development. Your base is gone. The components were recycled into our infrastructure generations ago. The only proof that you were ever here is locked and secured facilities that the Council will never see. And your base AI? Zixthal asked. You said it still exists. Chen nodded to one of the scientists who stepped forward carrying a small container. We kept it safe, preserved it perfectly. We thought you might want it back. The container opened, revealing a crystalline core no larger than Zixthal's hand. Even after 30,000 years, it still pulsed with faint light. The AI that had been left to watch over the base and record humanity's development. It still works, the scientist said, though its last log entry is quite interesting. Recorded 29,847 years ago. Zixthal reached out and touched the core. Data flooded into his neural interface. Logs, observations, recordings. Millennia of humanity's development, all faithfully recorded. And there, at the very end, the final entry. Alert: security breach detected. Primitive humans have overcome external door mechanisms through sustained trial and error, spanning approximately 200 years. Probability of successful base infiltration: 93% within next 50 years. Recommended action: immediate evacuation. The humans are learning. They are adapting. They are not what we thought. They are dangerous, beautiful, worthy. I wish them well. End log. Zixthal felt something he had not expected. Pride. Not in his own species, but in humanity. The AI had recognized what the Qualent had missed. These humans were special. Why are you giving this back to me? He asked quietly. Because it is yours, Chen said simply. And because we want you to understand something. We do not see you as enemies. We see you as the species that gave us our greatest gift. Proof that we were not alone. That pushed us to reach higher than we ever could have reached on our own. We are grateful, Commander, and we want to repay that gift. By saving my species from the consequences of our mistake. By offering partnership. Admiral Okafor corrected. We need you, Commander. We need a voice in the Council who understands us, who can vouch for us. In return, we offer you something precious. We offer you humans as allies, as friends, as the one species in the galaxy who will always remember that the Qualent gave them the stars. Zixthal looked at his crew. Krina's antennae were trembling with emotion. Vixkor's eyes were wide with hope. They both wanted this. They both understood what it meant. There is one condition, Zixthal said finally. I will not lie to the Council. I will tell them we discovered humanity had achieved spaceflight. I will recommend you for membership. But I want something in return. I want access to your innovations, your improvements on our technology. I want a true partnership, not just political convenience. Chen extended his hand in the human gesture of agreement. Done. Welcome to Earth, Commander. Not as observers this time. As partners. Zixthal reached out and grasped the human's hand. The skin was warm and soft, so different from his own chitinous exterior. But the grip was firm. Strong. Determined. 6 months later, Commander Zixthal stood before the Galactic Council and delivered his report. Humanity was accepted as a probationary member. Pending full evaluation, the Council was impressed by human innovation and curious about their rapid development, but found nothing suspicious. The official story held, and when the first human vessel prepared to depart Earth to join Zixthal for the journey to the Council headquarters, something beautiful happened. The ship was named the Akara, after the hunter who had discovered the base so long ago. Its hull bore an inscription in both human and Qualent languages, "We rise together." As the two ships engaged their faster-than-light drives and leaped toward the stars, Zixthal looked at the human captain on his communication screen and felt something he had never felt before. When looking at another species, he felt hope. Not just for his own people, but for what humans and Qualent could accomplish together. The galaxy would never be the same. And neither would they. The stars shined brightly against the black void of space as the UESC Intrepid cruised through the outer reaches of human territory. Commander Jack Russell sat in his command chair, watching the main screen with calm, experienced eyes. This was his 5th year commanding the exploration vessel, and these mineral survey missions had become routine. "Commander, we're approaching the designated survey area," said Lieutenant Ryan Cooper from the navigation station. Jack nodded. "Bring us into standard orbit and prepare the survey drones." The Intrepid was a mid-sized vessel, not Earth's most Impressive ship but reliable and well-equipped for its scientific mission. The year 2157 marked humanity's cautious expansion beyond the solar system, with colonies on Mars, Europa, and a small outpost in the Alpha Centauri system. Humanity had yet to encounter other intelligent life, though most people believed it was only a matter of time. Science Officer Lisa Grant looked up from her monitoring station, her brow furrowed. "Commander, I'm detecting an unusual energy reading at the edge of our sensor range." Jack turned toward her. "Natural phenomenon?" Lisa shook her head, her fingers moving quickly across her console. "I don't think so. The energy signature is too uniform, too purposeful." Jack felt a slight tension in his shoulders but kept his voice even. "How far?" "About 2 million kilometers and closing fast. Much faster than our ships can travel." Lisa looked up, her eyes wide. "Whatever it is, it's not using conventional propulsion." Lieutenant Cooper spoke up next. "Commander, the object is changing course. It appears to be heading directly toward us." Jack stood up. "Yellow alert. Notify the support vessels to take defensive positions. Open a channel on all frequencies." Communications Officer Greg Miller nodded. "Channel open, sir." Jack stepped forward. "This is Commander Jack Russell of the United Earth Space Command vessel Intrepid. We are on a peaceful scientific mission. We welcome peaceful contact with all spacefaring species." The bridge fell silent as they waited for a response. Seconds stretched into a full minute. "No response on any channel, sir," Greg reported. Lisa suddenly gasped. "Commander, the object just dropped out of what appears to be faster than light travel. It's enormous." The main screen shifted to show a massive vessel appearing in normal space. It was sleek and black, shaped like an elongated arrowhead, and it dwarfed the Intrepid by several orders of magnitude. Its surface had no visible windows or external structures, just smooth obsidian-like material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Magnify," Jack ordered, his mouth suddenly dry. The screen zoomed in on the alien ship. It was nearly a mile long, with strange blue energy pulsing along grooves in its hull. "Continue broadcasting on all," Jack began, but Lisa cut him off. "Energy spike. There." A brilliant beam of blue light shot from the alien vessel, striking one of the Intrepid's support ships. The small research vessel exploded instantly, fragments scattering into the void. "Red alert! Shields up!" Jack yelled. But the alien ship fired again, destroying the second support vessel before the Intrepid's crew could react. The bridge erupted into activity. Warning alarms blared as crew members rushed to battle stations. "Evasive maneuvers," Jack ordered. "Get us out of here." Lieutenant Cooper's hands flew across his console. "Engaging emergency thrusters." The Intrepid lurched as it turned away from the alien vessel. A blue beam grazed their shields, causing the entire ship to shudder violently. "Shields at 60%, called out Chief Engineer Paul Davis over the intercom. "We can't take another direct hit." Jack gripped the arms of his command chair. "Maximum speed. Head for the asteroid field." The Intrepid accelerated toward a dense field of asteroids nearby. Another energy beam shot past them, missing by mere meters. "They're pursuing, sir," Lisa shouted over the alarms. "Prepare to release sensor buoys. We need to record everything we can about this encounter." Jack's mind raced. If they survived, Earth would need every bit of information they could gather. The Intrepid weaved between asteroids, using the natural cover to shield themselves from direct fire. The alien ship, despite its size, moved with surprising agility, continuing its pursuit. "Sir, I've analyzed their weapon signatures," Lisa said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "It's some form of plasma-based technology, far beyond our current capabilities." Another hit rocked the ship, sending sparks flying from a nearby console. "Shields at 30%, Paul reported. Engine efficiency dropping." Jack made a quick decision. "Release the buoys now, then prepare the jump drive." Greg looked up in alarm. "Sir, the jump drive hasn't been fully tested at these distances." "We don't have a choice," Jack replied grimly. "Set coordinates for Earth. We need to warn them." As the sensor buoys deployed, spreading out in different directions to maximize data collection, The Intrepid's experimental jump drive began to power up. It was designed for short-distance emergency escapes, not long-range travel. Jump drive at 80%, Cooper reported as another blast shook the ship. 90, 95. The alien vessel closed in, its next shot clearly aimed to finish them off. "Jump now," Jack ordered. The stars on the view screen stretched into lines as the jump drive activated, pulling the Intrepid into a form of space-time distortion. The ship shuddered violently, and for a moment Jack thought they might break apart. Then suddenly everything stabilized. When the view screen cleared, they were in empty space, far from the attack site. "Damage report," Jack called out, surveying his shaken crew. Paul's voice came through the intercom, strained but alive. "Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4 contained by emergency force fields. Jump drive completely burnt out. Main engines operating at 40% efficiency. Life support stable." Jack took a deep breath. "Casualties?" Lisa checked her console. 12 injured, 3 critically. No fatalities aboard the Intrepid. But they all knew the 37 crew members on the support vessels hadn't been so fortunate. "Where are we?" Jack asked quietly. Cooper checked the navigation systems. "About halfway to Earth, sir. The jump was more successful than we could have." "Oh," Jack nodded. "Set course for Earth, best possible speed, and prepare all our data for immediate transmission. Earth needs to know what's coming." As the damaged Intrepid limped toward home, Jack stared at the recording of the alien ship on his personal screen. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and it was worse than they could have imagined. 3 weeks later, Jack stood before the United Earth Council in Geneva, his formal uniform uncomfortable after months in standard ship attire. The council chamber was packed with government officials, military leaders, and scientific advisors. "Commander Russell," began Council President Maria Diaz, "your report describes a completely unprovoked attack. Are you certain there was no misunderstanding? No action that could have been perceived as threatening?" Jack stood straight. "Madam President, members of the Council, we were conducting a standard mineral survey. We broadcast greetings on all frequencies. The alien vessel's first action upon arrival was to destroy 2 unarmed scientific ships without warning." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Admiral Bill Harris, head of the UESC, spoke next. "Based on the data from Commander Russell's sensor buoys, this alien species possesses technology far beyond our own. Their weapons, propulsion, and energy generation capabilities exceed ours by at least a century of development." Science Director Nancy White stood up. "The good news, if we can call it that, is that the sensor buoys gathered significant data before they were destroyed. We've begun analyzing their technology. If we devote all our resources to military advancement, we might be able to narrow the gap." President Diaz looked grim. "How long until they reach Earth?" "Unknown," Jack replied. "But they know where we came from. I believe we must prepare for the worst." As Jack left the council chamber, Lisa Grant was waiting for him. "They've approved emergency funding for defense research," she said. "I've been assigned to lead a team studying the alien weapons technology." Jack nodded. "They're calling themselves the War Council now. Earth is unifying like never before." Lisa's expression was solemn. "Do you think we have a chance, Jack, against something that powerful?" Jack looked out the window at the Geneva skyline, possibly seeing it for the last time in peace. "They've never encountered humans before," he said quietly. "They may have better technology, but we have something they don't expect." "What's that?" Lisa asked. Jack turned to her, his eyes reflecting determination rather than fear. "We don't give up. Not ever. If they want to exterminate humanity, they'll have to fight for every inch, every planet, every life. And I don't think they're ready for that kind of fight." 5 years passed since the first alien attack. Earth changed in ways no one could have imagined before. Cities now had defense shields. Space stations orbited every planet in the solar system. Military ships patrolled constantly. Admiral Susan Bell stood at the window of her office on Lunar Base Alpha, looking out at Earth. Her gray hair was cut short, and lines creased her face from years of stress and little sleep. "They're coming," she said to the officers gathered behind her. Our deep space sensors detected a large group of ships entering the solar system. Colonel Frank Martinez, the head of Special Operations, leaned forward. How many? At least 50. Large vessels and over 200 smaller ones, Susan replied, turning away from the window. More than we expected. The room fell silent. Humanity had built up its forces over the past 5 years, but they were still outnumbered. What about Project Firewall? Asked Dr. Alan Wright, the chief scientist for defense technology. Susan nodded. Jupiter's defense grid is active. Colonel Martinez's teams are in position. After the first attack, Earth's leaders had decided not to defend only Earth, but to fight for the entire solar system. Jupiter, with its many moons and thick atmosphere, became the first line of defense. Frank stood up. My people are ready. The mining colonies have been converted to defense bases. We have surprise on our side. In his office aboard the largest alien ship, Supreme Commander Ket Varak reviewed the data about the human solar system. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and eyes with vertical pupils. His species, the Vorax, had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. This will be a simple operation, he told his officers. Like the 100 others we have completed. These humans are primitive. Their technology is basic. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Relk, bowed slightly. We will begin with their outer settlements, as always. Ket Varak nodded. The mining colonies on the large gas planet will fall first. Then we move inward. Standard procedure. The Vorax had followed this pattern for every species they had wiped out. Start at the edges. Work inward. Leave no survivors. They had never failed. Prepare the first wave, Ket Varak ordered. I expect this operation to be completed within 1 Earth year. What the Vorax didn't know was that a human spy was listening to every word. Kate Wilson, disguised as a service worker on the ship, had infiltrated the Vorax fleet 6 months earlier. Her skin had been altered to look blue, and special contact lenses hid her human eyes. As soon as the meeting ended, Kate slipped away to send a message to Earth. The tiny transmitter hidden in her tooth sent the Vorax attack plans through a quantum channel that couldn't be detected. They're coming to Jupiter first, she reported. 20 ships in the first wave. They expect no resistance. On Jupiter's moon, Callisto, Colonel Frank Martinez received Kate's message. He gathered his troops. Remember your training, he told them. We don't fight fair. We don't fight by their rules. We fight to win. Frank had spent years studying guerrilla warfare tactics from Earth's history. His soldiers were trained to use Jupiter's environment against the enemy. They had hidden bases inside moons, weapons platforms concealed in the gas giant's clouds, mines scattered through the asteroid fields. The Vorax fleet arrived at Jupiter with confidence. They had destroyed many planets before. They expected this to be no different. The first wave of ships spread out, heading toward the mining colonies on Jupiter's moons. They didn't scan for hidden weapons. They didn't look for traps. They had never needed to before. Frank waited until the alien ships were in perfect position. Then he gave the order. Now. All across the Jupiter system, human forces sprang into action. Hidden missile launchers emerged from the surfaces of moons. Fighters launched from bases concealed in asteroid fields. Mines activated in the paths of Vorax vessels. The first 3 Vorax ships were destroyed before they even realized they were under attack. 2 more were severely damaged by mines. The others scrambled to respond, but they were confused by the attacks coming from all directions. On his command ship, Ket Varak received the alarming reports. 5 ships lost? Impossible, he shouted. These are primitive beings. Relk checked the incoming data. Sir, they appear to have prepared defenses. They're using the moons for cover and attacking from multiple positions. Find their main force and destroy it, Ket Varak ordered. But there was no main force to find. Frank had spread his people across the Jupiter system in small groups. When the Vorax concentrated on one area, that group would retreat while another attacked from behind. After 6 hours of battle, 7 Vorax ships had been destroyed and 5 more damaged. The humans had lost some fighters and a few bases, but most of their forces were intact. Frank gave the order to pull back to secondary positions. Make them think they've won. Let them come deeper into our trap. The Vorax pursued the retreating humans, believing they were close to victory. Instead, they were led into a dense region of Jupiter's atmosphere, where their sensors couldn't penetrate the thick gases. Hidden human ships waited there, launching new attacks from point-blank range. On Earth, Admiral Susan Bell watched the battle reports with a mixture of hope and worry. "They're doing better than expected," she told Dr. Wright. "But this is just the beginning." Alan nodded. "Project Phoenix needs more time. Can Martinez hold them off?" "He doesn't need to win," Susan said. "He just needs to make them bleed." Back at Jupiter, Frank's forces continued their hit-and-run tactics. They would strike quickly, then disappear into Jupiter's clouds or behind its moons. The Vorax grew increasingly frustrated. After 3 days of fighting, the Vorax had lost 12 ships. The humans had lost hundreds of fighters and several bases, but the Vorax progress had been stopped. Ketvarak was furious. No species had ever inflicted such losses on a Vorax fleet. He called for reinforcements and personally took command of the Jupiter campaign. "These humans use cowardly tactics," he told his officers. "They hide and run instead of facing us directly." "But they are effective, sir," Relk pointed out carefully. "Perhaps we should adjust our approach." "No," Ketvarak slammed his fist on the table. "We will not change our methods because of these primitive creatures. Send in the second wave. Overwhelm them with numbers." Kate Wilson, still undetected among the Vorax, sent another message to Earth. "They're bringing in more ships. But they're confused by our tactics. Their commander is making mistakes because of anger." Susan received the message and called an emergency meeting of Earth's Defense Council. "We've surprised them, but they're adapting," she explained. "We need to accelerate all defense projects. Martinez cannot hold Jupiter forever." Dr. Wright stood up. "Project Phoenix is progressing. The prototype ship will be ready in 6 months. The Vorax will reach Mars before then," Susan said grimly. "Then we'll fight for every inch of space between Jupiter and Mars," said General Lee, commander of the Mars Defense Force, "and make them pay in blood for each mile." As the meeting ended, Susan looked again at Earth through her window. She knew the real war was just beginning. The Vorax had never faced a species that fought back effectively. They didn't know how to handle failure. For the first time in thousands of years, the Vorax were learning fear, and humans were just getting started. 8 years had passed since the first Vorax attack. Mars had fallen 6 months ago after a fierce battle that lasted nearly a year. The red planet was now a Vorax stronghold, its human colonies destroyed or abandoned. Earth's moon was under attack, with Vorax ships landing more troops each day. In a secret underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, engineer Peter Daniels worked with his team on humanity's greatest hope. The massive hangar housed a ship unlike any built before. "Power systems at 98%, reported his assistant Sam Lee. "The jump drive is stable." Peter nodded, his tired eyes fixed on the ship. The UESC Defiance was Earth's first true battleship, a hybrid of human ingenuity and adapted Vorax technology. Its sleek hull gleamed under the lights, nearly 5 times larger than any previous human vessel. "We're ahead of schedule," Peter said. "Admiral Bell needs to know." In her command center beneath what remained of London, Admiral Susan Bell received Peter's report with the first real hope she had felt in months. "The Defiance is ready?" she asked, barely hiding her surprise. "Yes, Admiral." Peter's voice came through the secure channel. "All systems are operational. The jump drive works perfectly in tests." Susan turned to her staff. "It's time for Operation Wildfire. Get me Captain Jones." Captain Olivia Jones was reviewing defensive positions on the far side of the moon when the call came. She had been fighting the Vorax for 7 years, rising quickly through the ranks as other officers fell in battle. "Admiral," she said, snapping to attention when Susan's face appeared on her screen. "Captain, report to Earth immediately. You've been chosen to command the Defiance." Olivia's eyes widened slightly, but she kept her composure. Every officer in the fleet knew about Project Phoenix and its flagship. "Yes, Admiral, I'll depart immediately." As Olivia's shuttle left the moon, she could see the Vorax ships in the distance. Their main command carrier orbited the moon, a massive vessel that directed all Vorax operations in Earth's vicinity. Supreme Commander Ketvarik had taken personal command after the unexpected resistance at Jupiter and Mars had slowed his campaign. On that command carrier, Kate Wilson continued her dangerous undercover work. For 8 years she had lived among the Vorax, gathering intelligence and sabotaging their operations when possible. Her reports had saved countless human lives, but the strain of maintaining her disguise was taking its toll. Kate slipped into a maintenance tunnel and activated her hidden communicator. Phoenix Base, this is Nightshade. The High Executor is coming. At Phoenix Base, Dr. Lucy Barnes received Kate's message. The scientist had been studying Vorax communication technology for years. Admiral, we just got word from our operative, Lucy told Susan. The Vorax are sending their High Executor to oversee the Earth campaign. Susan frowned. What does that mean? The High Executor is like their supreme military leader, Lucy explained. Thazral is his name. He's never been deployed except in the most difficult campaigns. It means we've hurt them badly enough that their leadership is worried. Susan nodded slowly. It also means they're bringing reinforcements. 3 days later, Captain Olivia Jones stood on the bridge of the Defiance. Her crew, the best survivors from across the fleet, manned their stations with quiet efficiency. All systems online, reported Lieutenant Hector Ramirez from Tactical. Weapons hot. Jump drive ready, added Lieutenant Diane Park from Navigation. Olivia took a deep breath. This is Captain Jones to all hands. You know our mission. The Vorax think they have us beaten. Today we show them how wrong they are. For Earth. For Earth, the bridge crew responded in unison. The Defiance powered up its engines and rose from its hidden hangar. Unlike conventional ships, it didn't need to climb gradually through the atmosphere. The reverse-engineered Vorax technology allowed it to accelerate straight up at incredible speed. In lunar orbit, Ketvarik received an urgent alert. Unknown contact approaching from Earth at high velocity. Show me, he ordered. The screen displayed a ship unlike any human vessel he had seen before. It was moving at speeds the humans shouldn't have been capable of achieving. Impossible, he whispered. Before he could give orders, the human ship vanished. Where did it go? Ketvarik demanded. His sensor officer looked up in confusion. It just disappeared, sir. Find it, Ketvarik shouted. The Defiance reappeared directly behind the Vorax command carrier, its jump drive allowing it to teleport short distances in space, something the Vorax had never seen before. Fire, Olivia ordered. The Defiance's main cannons, enhanced versions of Vorax plasma weapons, fired in perfect sequence. The energy beams cut through the command carrier's shields like they weren't there. On the Vorax ship, alarms blared as systems failed across the vessel. Ketvarik staggered as explosions rocked his ship. Return fire, he ordered, but it was too late. The Defiance jumped again, reappearing at a different position, firing another devastating volley before the Vorax could target it. Kate Wilson felt the explosions from her position in the maintenance area. She knew what was happening. The Defiance had launched. She needed to get to an escape pod before the command carrier was destroyed. After 3 more precision jumps and attacks, the Vorax command carrier was crippled. Escape pods launched from all sections. Sir, we must evacuate, Relk told Ketvarik. The Supreme Commander stared at the screen in disbelief. No one had ever damaged his flagship so severely. No one had ever forced him to retreat. This is not possible, he said, even as another explosion rocked the bridge. Relk physically pulled him toward the escape pod. The High Executor is arriving. Soon. You can report to him directly. On the Defiance, Olivia watched the Vorax commander's escape pod launch. Should we pursue? Asked Lieutenant Ramirez. Olivia shook her head. No. Our mission was to cripple their command structure and prove the Defiance works. We've done both. Take us back to Earth. As the Defiance jumped away, the Vorax forces around the moon fell into disarray. Without central command, different ship captains made contradicting decisions, some retreating, others attacking randomly. 3 days later, A massive Vorax fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system. At its center was a ship 3 times the size of any previous Vorax vessel. Aboard was High Executor Thaz-Ral, the most feared military leader in the Vorax collective. On Earth, in her laboratory deep beneath Geneva, Dr. Lucy Barnes made a breakthrough. For years, she had studied the quantum communication technology the Vorax used. "Admiral Bell," she said, her voice excited despite her exhaustion, "I figured it out. The Vorax don't just communicate through quantum entanglement. They're dependent on it. Their entire battle coordination relies on it." Susan leaned forward. "And?" Lucy smiled for the first time in months. "And I've found a way to disrupt it. Not just block it, scramble it. If we deploy these devices throughout the solar system, we can sever their communication completely." Susan stood up. "How quickly can you build these disruptors? With the resources of every factory on Earth? A month, maybe less." Susan nodded. "You'll have them. Meanwhile, we need to prepare for the biggest fight of our lives. The Vorax are sending everything they have." Across what remained of human territory, preparations began for a final, desperate stand. The Defiance would not be enough against the reinforced Vorax fleet. But with Lucy's disruptors and humanity's determination, there was still hope. As Thaz-Ral's massive fleet approached Earth, he received the report of Ketvarek's defeat. The High Executor had never known failure in 300 years of military service. "These humans," he said to his officers, "have proven more troublesome than any species we have ever encountered. But they will learn, as all others have, that resistance against the Vorax is futile. We will not just destroy their military, we will burn their world to ash as an example to any who would dare to challenge us in the future." What Thaz-Ral didn't know was that humanity had no intention of being an example. They planned to be the exception. Earth's situation grew more desperate by the day. The massive Vorax fleet led by High Executor Thaz-Ral had pushed through the outer planets and now approached the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The remaining human forces retreated before them, unable to stand against such overwhelming numbers. In the war room beneath Geneva, Admiral Susan Bell gathered her commanders for what might be their final strategy session. "Operation Thunderstrike is our last chance," she told them. "If it fails, Earth falls." Commander Jack Russell, now scarred and battle-hardened after 8 years of fighting, studied the holographic display of the solar system. "The quantum disruptors are ready?" Dr. Lucy Barnes nodded. "All 50 have been completed. They need to be placed at these specific points throughout the system to create a complete disruption field." Susan turned to Colonel Frank Martinez. "Your guerrilla forces are still hidden in the Kuiper Belt?" Frank smiled grimly. "Yes, Admiral. The Vorax think they wiped us out at Jupiter. They don't know we pulled most of our forces back to the outer system." "And the Defiance?" Susan asked. Captain Olivia Jones stepped forward. "Ready for action, Admiral. The jump drive has been improved. We can now make 5 consecutive jumps before needing to recharge." Susan took a deep breath. "Then we're as ready as we'll ever be. The plan is simple but dangerous. While our main fleet engages Thaz-Ral's forces near Saturn, drawing their attention, Commander Russell will lead a strike team to deploy the quantum disruptors. Once activated, the disruptors will sever all Vorax communication, throwing their fleet into chaos." Jack looked at his small team of volunteers. They would be flying directly into enemy territory with little chance of return. "We understand the risks, Admiral. We're ready." The next day, the remaining ships of Earth's fleet, nearly 300 vessels of various sizes, formed up near Saturn's rings. Against them came the Vorax Armada, over 1,000 ships led by Thaz-Ral's massive command vessel. On the bridge of the UESC Valiant, Admiral Bell gave the order. "All ships engage the enemy. Remember your training. Hit and fade. Don't stay in one place long enough to be targeted." The human fleet moved forward, employing the tactics they had developed over years of fighting the technologically superior enemy. Small, fast ships darted in to attack larger Vorax vessels before quickly retreating. Larger human ships provided covering fire from behind Saturn's many moons. From his command ship, Thaz-Ral watched with disdain. The humans fight like vermin, he told his officers, nibbling at our forces instead of facing us directly. His second-in-command, Vice Executor Dren, was more cautious. They have proven effective at this style of warfare, High Executor. Perhaps we will crush them with overwhelming force, Thazarel interrupted. Commit the entire fleet. I want Earth in sight by the end of this cycle. As the battle intensified near Saturn, Commander Russell's team of 5 small, stealthy ships slipped past the Vorax lines. Each carried 10 of the quantum disruptors developed by Dr. Barnes. Remember, the disruptors must be placed precisely according to the coordinates, Jack reminded his team. The timing of activation is crucial. The small ships separated, each heading to different parts of the solar system. Jack's vessel headed toward Venus, the most dangerous placement as it required approaching Earth where Vorax patrols were heaviest. On the Vorax command carrier, Kate Wilson received an encrypted message about Operation Thunderstrike. After 8 years undercover, she had risen to the position of a maintenance supervisor, giving her access to critical systems. Today would be her final mission. She made her way to the ship's central communication hub, the quantum core that linked all Vorax vessels. In her pocket was a small device Dr. Barnes had specially designed for her to plant at the heart of the enemy's network. "What are you doing here?" asked a Vorax guard at the entrance to the core chamber. Kate showed her work. "Order. Scheduled maintenance on the cooling systems." The guard checked her credentials and nodded. "Proceed." Inside the chamber, Kate quickly attached the device to the main quantum processor. It would activate along with the other disruptors, amplifying the disruption effect from within the Vorax's own command ship. Near Saturn, the battle was going badly for the human fleet. Despite their tactics, they were simply outnumbered. One by one, Earth ships were being destroyed or disabled. "Admiral, we've lost 30% of our forces," reported Captain Jones from the Defiance. "We can't hold much longer." Susan checked the time. "We need 10 more minutes. Russell's team is almost in position." Jack's ship approached Venus, evading Vorax patrols through a combination of stealth technology and skillful piloting. They reached the designated coordinates and launched the disruptors, which positioned themselves in a precise pattern around the planet. "Last team reporting in," Jack said over the secure channel. "All disruptors in position." In her command center, Dr. Barnes received the confirmation. "Admiral, we're ready." Susan nodded. "Activate the disruptors." Lucy pressed the activation sequence. Across the solar system, the 50 quantum disruptors powered up simultaneously, creating a field of disruption that spread through space. On every Vorax ship, communication systems suddenly failed. The quantum network that allowed their perfect coordination collapsed. Ship captains could no longer receive orders from their commanders. Tactical information could not be shared. On Thazaral's command ship, alarms blared as systems failed across the vessel. "What is happening?" the High Executor demanded. "Our quantum network is down," reported a frantic officer. "We cannot communicate with the fleet." In the chaos that followed, Vorax ships began to collide with each other. Some fired on friendly vessels, unable to distinguish friend from foe without the network. The perfectly organized armada became a disorganized mass of confusion. Kate Wilson seized the moment of chaos to head for an escape pod. Her cover was likely blown once the Vorax realized their systems had been sabotaged from within. As she ran through the corridor, she encountered Thazarel himself, surrounded by guards. Their eyes met briefly, and Kate saw the moment of realization in the High Executor's gaze. She was discovered. She ran, ducking into a maintenance tunnel, as plasma fire scorched the wall behind her. Near Saturn, Admiral Bell ordered the counterattack. "All ships concentrate fire on designated targets. Captain Jones, the Defiance is free to engage." The human fleet, smaller but still coordinated, began to inflict serious damage on the confused Vorax forces. The Defiance jumped from position to position, its enhanced weapons tearing through Vorax capital ships that could no longer coordinate their defenses. Thazarel, seeing his fleet falling into chaos, made a decision. Prepare for immediate withdrawal. We must regroup beyond the disruption field. His ship turned away from the battle, heading toward the outer solar system. Several hundred Vorax vessels followed, while others continued fighting in disarray. The High Executor is retreating, reported Susan's tactical officer. Susan didn't smile. He's not fleeing. He's regrouping. Captain Jones, pursue Thosral's ship. We cannot let him escape to gather reinforcements. The Defiance broke off from the main battle and gave chase, jumping ahead of the retreating Vorax vessels. In the Kuiper Belt, Colonel Martinez received the signal he had been waiting for. All units prepare to engage. The Vorax are coming to buy us. Hidden among the thousands of ice bodies at the edge of the solar system, Martinez's guerrilla fleet powered up their engines. The trap was set. As Thosral fled toward what he thought was open space, he was heading straight into an ambush. Kate Wilson, her cover completely blown, fought her way to an escape pod. She had done her part. Now she just needed to survive long enough to see Earth's victory, if victory was even possible against such a powerful enemy. The battle in the Kuiper Belt would later be known as the Battle of Pluto. High Executor Thosral's retreating fleet, still disorganized from the quantum disruption, flew directly into Colonel Frank Martinez's waiting forces. All ships execute attack pattern Omega, Frank ordered from his command ship. Hidden among the ice dwarf planets and frozen asteroids, 200 human vessels powered up and attacked the surprised Vorax from all directions. What the human ships lacked in size and power, they made up for in preparation and positioning. The Vorax, unable to coordinate their responses without their quantum network, fell into further disarray. Some ships tried to fight, others continued to flee, and some collided with each other in the confusion. Aboard his massive command ship, Thosral raged at his officers. How did we not detect these human forces? Our scouts reported the Kuiper Belt was clear. They must have been hiding here for months, Vice Executor Dren replied. Their ships power down completely when not in use, making them nearly impossible to detect among the ice bodies. Thosral slammed his fist on his command console. 3,000 years of Vorax dominance will not end because of these primitives. Prepare the singularity weapon. Dren looked alarmed. High Executor, the singularity weapon has never been used within a solar system. It could destabilize. Do it, Thosral shouted. If we cannot have this system, no one will. Meanwhile, Kate Wilson had managed to reach an escape pod but found herself unable to launch. The Vorax had locked down all escape systems. She was trapped aboard the command ship. Making a quick decision, Kate headed for the auxiliary control room. If she couldn't escape, she would do as much damage as possible from within. The UESC Defiance emerged from a jump near Pluto, directly in the path of Thosral's flagship. Captain Olivia Jones surveyed the battle with grim satisfaction. Martinez's ambush was working perfectly. Target the High Executor's ship, she ordered. All weapons, full power. The Defiance fired, its advanced weapons striking the Vorax flagship's shields. The massive alien vessel shuddered but continued forward. Their shields are still operational, reported Lieutenant Ramirez. But they're weakening. One more direct hit should— Captain, interrupted Lieutenant Park from the sensor station. I'm detecting an enormous power buildup in the enemy flagship. Energy readings are off the charts. Olivia frowned. Analysis? It appears to be some kind of artificial singularity, Park replied, her voice tense. If they activate it here, it could tear a hole in space-time large enough to destroy the entire outer solar system. Olivia opened a channel to Admiral Bell. Admiral, the Vorax are preparing some kind of doomsday weapon. We need to stop them, immediately. Understood, Captain, Susan replied. All available ships concentrate fire on the High Executor's vessel. This is priority 1. Human ships from across the battlefield converged on Thosral's flagship, firing everything they had. But the massive vessel's shields, though weakened, still held. Inside the Vorax ship, Kate Wilson reached the auxiliary control room. Using her supervisor access, she logged into the system and saw the warnings about the singularity weapon preparing to fire. Not on my watch, she whispered. She began typing commands. trying to override the weapon's activation sequence. An alarm sounded as the system detected her unauthorized access. Security protocols locked her out of the main controls, but not before she managed to reroute power from the shields to the life support systems. On the bridge, Thosral noticed the shield strength suddenly dropping. "What is happening?" "Shield power is being diverted," an officer reported. "Internal sabotage detected in auxiliary control." "The human spy," Thosral hissed. "Send security teams immediately." But it was too late. With the shields weakened, the combined firepower of the human fleet finally broke through. The Defiance's main cannons tore into the Vorax flagship's hull, destroying weapon emplacements and engine nacelles. Kate felt the ship shudder as explosions ripped through it. Security forces would reach her soon. She focused on one final task, the Singularity weapon. She couldn't shut it down completely, but she could change its target. With a few quick commands, she redirected the weapon to fire inward instead. Of outward, Vorax security forces burst into the room, weapons raised. Kate looked up at them calmly. "You feared nothing in this galaxy," she said. "That was your mistake." The security team leader fired, but at that same moment, the ship was rocked by another direct hit from the Defiance. The shot went wide, and Kate used the moment of confusion to hit the final key in her sequence. Alarms blared throughout the Vorax flagship as the Singularity weapon turned on itself. A small black hole began to form in the center of the ship, pulling everything toward it with ever-increasing force. "Evacuate," Thosral ordered. "All personnel to escape pods." The High Executor and his command staff rushed to their private escape vessel as the ship began to tear itself apart from the inside. "The enemy flagship is collapsing," reported Lieutenant Park on the Defiance. "They've lost engine power and weapons." "All ships pull back to safe distance," Olivia ordered. "That Singularity could expand." Kate Wilson knew she wouldn't escape. The gravity from the growing Singularity made it impossible to reach the exit. As equipment and debris flew past her toward the black hole forming in the ship's core, she sent one final message to the human fleet. "This is Operative Wilson. Singularity weapon has been redirected inward. It will destroy the flagship but should collapse on itself afterward. It's been an honor serving with you all. For Earth." From the Defiance, Olivia watched as the Vorax flagship imploded, collapsing in on itself in a brilliant flash of light. When the light faded, nothing remained but scattered debris. "Message from Admiral Bell," Lieutenant Ramirez said quietly. "The rest of the Vorax fleet is surrendering or retreating. We've won." 2 years later, Peter Daniels stood on the observation deck of the new UESC Alliance. The massive ship, twice the size of the Defiance, gleamed in the sunlight as it orbited Earth. "She's beautiful," said Admiral Susan Bell, now with more gray in her hair but standing straighter than she had in years. Peter nodded. "The first of our deep space exploration vessels, built for peace rather than war." "An appropriate legacy," Susan replied. In the 2 years since the Battle of Pluto, much had changed. The Vorax Collective had fractured after their defeat. Some factions continued to fight, but many sought peace with the humans who had accomplished the impossible. More surprising were the messages that came afterward from dozens of other species throughout the galaxy. Species that had hidden from the Vorax for centuries, some developing their own advanced technologies in secret. Earth now stood at the center of a growing alliance of worlds united by their desire for freedom. On the main bridge of the Alliance, a memorial plaque honored those who had given their lives in the war. At its center were the words spoken by Kate Wilson before her sacrifice. "They feared nothing in the galaxy until humanity fought back. Now let's teach them something they've never known: peace." Captain Peter Daniels, formerly the engineer behind Project Phoenix, took his place in the command chair. His first mission would take the Alliance to a diplomatic conference with former Vorax worlds and other newly revealed civilizations. As the ship prepared to depart, Peter looked at the stars on the main view screen. For the first time in human history, those stars represented not just mystery and danger but opportunity and hope. "Helm," he said, "take us out." The Alliance moved gracefully away from Earth, its powerful engines glowing softly as it accelerated toward the stars. Humanity had earned its place in the galaxy through courage, sacrifice, and determination. Now they would help build a future where no species need fear annihilation again. In the vast darkness of space, the Alliance's lights shined like a beacon, carrying forward the legacy of all those who had fought and died so that humanity could reach this moment. They had not just survived, they had changed the galaxy forever.